International Cinema at BYU today is a program that brings together films from around the world, from a variety of world languages and world cultures, many of which we teach here at BYU and some of which we don't teach at BYU, with the hope that it will attract students and staff, faculty, and community friends to join with us in watching these movies and enriching our knowledge of culture.
Yeah, my favorite film, I have a couple, but I would have to say Death in Venice by Italian director Luchino Visconti. I absolutely wept all the way through it. I was so moved by this man who knows his own life is about over, and he follows this boy that seems like just a perfect example of promise. I mean, he's like 12 or something. He's just on the verge of becoming an adult. He represented youth, beauty, purity, innocence. It is, and probably always will be, my favorite film because it was the most heartbreaking and moving and upsetting to me and changed my life, really, as far as looking at other people and what is going on inside them.
The Color of Paradise is essentially the story of a young blind boy, and this young boy struggles to know whether or not God loves him, whether or not God knows him, and how those struggles play out in the context of his family and his culture. This film is made by an Iranian director who was trained in France. He's raised in a filmmaking tradition that has a long history of relying on the visuals and on the sound to communicate the meaning of the film. So here's a film that is rich in visual symbolism. Here's a film where the mise-en-scène, the visual composition of the various elements that the viewer sees on the screen, have something to say about the meaning of the film. The tension between sound on the one hand and the things that someone who is gifted with sight can see that this young boy can't see. These are the kinds of elements that are explored artistically and very subtly and beautifully in this film.
The film I've selected is Kagemusha. It's a story about a warring clan in Japan's Warring States period. It involves a leader and a thief. The thief serves as a double for the leader until the leader dies, and then the thief is elevated to become the leader's replacement for as long as they can possibly maintain the ruse. I think as a work of art, it's a classic of world cinema. It's done by one of the best filmmakers of the 20th century. He was highly influential. Kurosawa originally was a painter, and then he became a film director. And in making his films, you see that painterly attention to detail in the visuals everywhere. But he also was a great storyteller, and you see that in this film, in some of the ways he's told the story.
Carl Dreyer's film, Ordette, is my favorite film. Ordette means the word, and in the film there's a reference to the word as that which can bring what is dead to life again. The film is about a grandfather on this beautiful farm in Denmark who has 3 sons with problems of different types. He is trying to pull his family together. Today it's so easy to make films, and it's inexpensive, and people do it in standard ways that it's often done. Dreyer is doing it in classic ways that needs to be done in order to tell the story effectively, so that you've got a powerful story where we're tracking people and seeing what it is that they are going through and what they're grappling with and seeing how they develop. And we watch the development of these characters, and they're concerned about big issues, religious issues, religion in our lives, the way that we treat each other out of our religious concerns. So we're tracking all of that, and then using the lighting and the production design and the blocking and the everything and the music to bring out all of those elements. That's what he was doing, and that's why he is considered a consummate artist and craftsman.
Il Postino is a film that takes place in a small fishing village in Italy. It has to do with a young man named Mario Rupolo who has no real talents, and one day he receives the assignment to deliver mail to a new visitor, and it turns out that that visitor is the famous Chilean poet Pablo Neruda. Pablo Neruda starts teaching him about poetry, and he gains the courage to write poems for a beautiful young woman who also lives on the island. He's trying to win her heart. It deals with the power of poetry, because Mario Rupolo, before he meets Pablo Neruda, is a man of few words who's so shy he can't express himself. And he starts writing poems, and he starts reading poetry, and he starts seeing the world with new eyes. I really recommend this film because it has a beautiful theme of love and friendship.
One of my favorite films is Babettes Feast, a Danish film directed by Gabriel Axel. The story takes place in Jutland, an island off Denmark, and involves two sisters who are the daughters of a pastor who began his own sect. They've given their whole lives over to sacrifice and to their faith, even to the point of taking in a refugee named Babette from France, who in her gratitude after many years offers to give them a wonderful banquet. And in the process of doing that, it becomes a kind of revelatory, almost sacramental experience for everybody there, and is a comment on the sacrifice and the blessings, if you will, of art. And so we see with the food the transformation that goes on in these characters.
One of my favorite films of all time is titled Koyaanisqatsi. Koyaanisqatsi means a world out of balance in Hopi. It's a film that that sort of tracks the sort of modern life and modern environment. It's pretty interesting. There is a moment that I really love in the film. It's right at the very end, and the camera tracks a satellite, a rocket that explodes, and a satellite that falls, and it seems to fall forever. It falls and falls and falls, and there's this really great music that accompanies it, and I don't know how to explain the moment except that the visual and the music absolutely add up to something, and that's really what a good film is all about. You walk out from a good film, or you finish a good novel, and you can never see the world the same way afterwards.
One of my favorite films is Ang Lee's 1994 film Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. And this is a film about a family and about a father and his three daughters. A series of Sunday night dinners, a family tradition occurs where the father and his daughters gather together for a large meal, and the father's a professional chef, so that makes the dinners all the more interesting. And the film showcases these preparations the father goes to make the dinners. And it's such a vital part of Chinese culture, food, and food as a means of communication, of reinforcing relationships, of showing affection and concern for people. It's such an important part of Chinese life that a film that showcases that really gets at one of the important core values and features of Chinese society. The irony of the film is the father loses his sense of taste, so the film shows all these elaborate preparations he prepares for these dishes, but sometimes he gets them a little bit off. A good Chinese dish or a good Chinese meal balances dishes that are sweet and salty and savory and bitter and sour, and the film really captures a lot of the emotions, a whole spectrum of emotions. Plus, any film that can work in the Mormon Tabernacle Choir in a Chinese context, has to be good, right?